People are coming off of a bad relationship and they're like, I'm gonna meet somebody. That's how you forget about somebody, you just move on. Okay, well that doesn't always work. Nobody ever thinks like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a matchmaker. It's not a profession. Like in the Rolodex of jobs, you can't find it. I would tell people, just take a look in the mirror, physically and emotionally and spiritually. Are you looking like what you think your partner is looking for? I'm excited to sit here with Aleeza Ben Shalom from Netflix's Jewish Matchmaking, and I am super excited. I feel that you have so much to share with our audience and so much to give, and everyone who's listening, really their goal is to find their person, but they're having some difficulties, some challenges, something that's bothering them, and that's your specialty. So we're just so happy to have this discussion and to kind of see what you can guide us and how you can talk to us about different tips and ideas and what we should do while we are searching for our other half of our soul. So first of all, welcome. Thank you. So happy to be here. I really wanted to ask you, like, what was it about being a dating coach and being a matchmaker that drew you to this profession, this idea? You've been doing it for so many years, way before the Netflix reached out to you. And so I wanted to hear, like, what made you decide to begin with this process? I don't think I realized when I first started that I had been doing this kind of growing up. I grew up secular, conservative Jewish, and became observant in my early 20s. And even just in middle school and high school and college, and I was setting friends up.
You were that one.
I was that one. I'm like, oh, yeah, I think he likes you. And how do you know? And I said, he might have told me something. And whether he did or he didn't, it didn't matter because I knew it was a good match. And I was trying to bring people together. And usually it worked out fairly nicely. Some couples did get married. And it just was something natural. But nobody ever thinks like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be a matchmaker. It's not a profession. There's no training for it. It's not like in the Rolodex of jobs, you can't find it. It's not like you'd go to college and be like, oh, doctor, lawyer, matchmaker. It's not a part of what anybody would think to do. So it wasn't a part of anything that was in my consciousness. And then I had little kids. I got married around 25. I had 2 little kids. And I was like, oh, I need some adult interaction and stimulation. I love my babies, but I didn't realize that I love adults too. And a friend of mine, she's like, oh, I'm a matchmaker on this matchmaker dating website, and singles don't search for themselves. We search for them. What do you think about that? And I was like, ooh, that's fun. So I applied to do that. And that's how I professionally got started doing this.
Got it. So what have you found is like the biggest block that people have in their dating quest?
This has come up recently, and it comes up all the time. What I want, is it good for me? And it usually, for the people that are asking that question, it's usually not. They're usually drawn or attracted to someone or some sort of behavior that, on one hand, like it makes them feel good in a certain way, but then they're not feeling comfortable, or that it doesn't make sense, or they're not feeling safe or at ease, or that the relationship has true potential. Like it feels good in the moment, but I don't think it's going to last a long time because of the type of personality that this person has. So getting out of our own way, I think, is the biggest challenge that we have.
Totally. I mean, so we work with PacMan at Chabad. We have a lot of young professionals that we're working with. And I think that something that I found is that they have a hard time making dating a priority also.
Yes. That's a modern day thing, by the way. I think dating and being a priority, I don't know about, your day and age, but my day and age, like, yeah, you just go out, you meet people, you socialize. It was normal to desire to get into a relationship. And now the most normal thing on a college campus is get a degree, to find your profession, do something important in the world, be independent. And so it's all about me, and there's no we.
I think that people have a hard time making space for another, and they kind of want the other person to fit onto their puzzle piece,
right?
Versus maybe chipping away and making it a straight edge,
right?
To
to make that work. And I think that in a relationship, people have to realize that there's a give and a take, and that there's a compromise. And it's also, if you really want a relationship to work, the time has to get put into it.
Right. And there has to be time and space in your life for somebody else to come in. And most people are not making that time right now. It's very difficult.
Yeah. So you mentioned to me before we began that before you even set somebody up, you'll give them dating coaching. Why do you feel that that's so important?
So to me, coaching is a part of the dating process. So there's 3 parts to a matchmaker's role. One is introducing 2 people together, but everybody thinks that's the only job. That's just one of 3 things, and it doesn't always have to be the first thing. The other one is the mentorship, and the last part is the closing of the match. So sometimes or often the mentorship comes first, then comes an introduction, then comes some more mentorship, and then we close. And either we close and yay, this is my person, or we close and yay, you're not my person, I'm moving on. So I like that we have clarity from the get-go, because when you introduce somebody else, everything gets really fuzzy. And so if I'm not super clear about what I want, or if I'm too clear about what I want, it makes it very hard to see what's in front of me and to evaluate it in comparison to myself.
So what are some key points that you talk about in your coaching session before you set someone up?
Good question. Okay, let me think for a minute. So it depends on where somebody's coming from. I have a program that's called Dating Detox. So if people are coming off of a bad relationship and they're like, I'm going to meet somebody. That's how you forget about somebody. You just move on and keep dating. Okay, well, that's one method. Doesn't always work.
Generally not.
Right. And if we do a dating detox, we clear everything that's going on, and it doesn't have to be long. It could be a week, it could be a month. It's really up to the person, but we have all the tools of what to do. They go through that, and then they're in a space that they could start dating. So sometimes that's how we start out coaching. Other people, they know that they should find their person, but they don't actually have that will. It's not very strong within them that they want it. They just think that it's a good idea, or somebody's nudging them, mom, dad, brother, sister, somebody, like, you need to get married, enough already, it's your turn. So they don't have their own will. So sometimes we have to build up that desire to have a partner, because if I don't have a desire to have a partner and somebody comes into my life, I'm not feeling really satisfied that you're here. I was good on my own. I didn't need you. And even if the right person comes in, I still might reject them because I'm whole on my own. So I feel complete on my own. I have zero space for another person to exist in my world. Whether it's true or not, it doesn't matter whether we are or aren't whole. It's a whole nother discussion. But just the fact that I feel, some people have said to me, I'm really satisfied with my life. I like what I do. I like where I live. I like my whole little world here. Bringing somebody in is actually really complicated, because now I can't do what I always did. And I'm not happy about that. There's a book called The Missing Piece by Shel Silverstein. Do you know that book? It's like a circle, almost like a little PacMan with a little wedge taken out, okay? And it rolls and rolls, and it has this whole story, It rolls and it smells the flowers, and it goes up mountains and down mountains, and right, it has all these amazing adventures, and it sings this little song, I'm looking for my missing piece, I'm looking for my missing piece. Heidi ho, here we go, I'm looking for my missing piece, right? And then it goes on its dates, and it finds a piece that's too big and too small and too pointy, and right. And then one day it finds the perfect piece, right? And all of a sudden it starts rolling and rolling, and it's going faster than it ever went before. And but it can't do everything that it always did. Can't stop and smell the flowers in the same way, and it's not going on the same adventures. And then it was like, oh, so that's how it is. And then it puts the piece down, and it keeps rolling on, going, oh, I'm looking for my missing piece. I'm looking for my missing piece. That book drives me crazy. I'm so mad. I'm so mad at the end of that book. I'm mad. You put down your person. You let go of your person because you said, I can't do what I always did because now I have this person in my life. And my answer is, right. Yes, you can't. You're right. We have to do things differently. We have to behave differently. We have to act differently. We have to interact with the world and ourselves and our space very differently when we have somebody else in our life. And no, you can't do it the same way. And there's not always a consciousness of that. Like you said, we just want to, I go about me, I plug you in and like, good, here we go. I couldn't do what I'm doing right now if my partner and my husband was not on board with this. If he was not on the same page saying, sure, go travel the world, make an impact, do this with the business. I'll stay home and raise the family. If he wasn't doing that, then I couldn't do this. And we've been married 20 years and I never did this in 20 years, right? So 18 out of 20 years, 19 out of 20 years, I was home, I was with the kids. I did everything, on that end. It was like I was, he was out working and I was home full time. And then it was like 75-25. And then we did like 50-50 as my business picked up. And then it kept shifting until he shifted out of the workforce, but also because we moved to Israel and made Aliyah. And his business was not transferable and mine was. But if he wasn't in support of this, I'd have to drop my piece and I'd still have a missing piece and I'd be just doing my own thing in the world. We're doing this together. And the merit of everything that I'm doing is because of what we have together, because the family is stabilized, because we are on the same page in terms of making space for each other and making space to do something significant in the world as well.
So do you think that people just have too many wants on their list? I feel like everyone has this like list, right?
I'm not opposed to lists. I don't want to disappoint you, but
I don't have a problem with lists either.
Yeah.
But when the list is this long,
Do you feel that that hinders them from really making that space, from allowing them to reach out to this person that
maybe could be good, but isn't checking all the boxes?
right. So I give people, I'm going to call it like a top 10 in terms of personality and values and what they're looking for. And after 10, I'm not really worried. Because if you're feeling pretty satisfied with your top 10, or to the degree that you're feeling satisfied, it's actually enough. And 11 and onward, it's nice. They're more like bonuses, but it's not a necessity. But if we're missing something from the top 10, somebody is going to feel a loss, and they have to come to a place of either acceptance, which is...
So you think 10?
When I say 10, you can have minimum 5.
Yeah, I would always say 5.
We have a problem.
Yeah.
5's not enough. If I tell you, sure, go pick your husband, you only get 5 things on your list. Let me tell you what's going to happen. On the inside, you put 5 things on the list, then you mentally, for sure, have another 5 things on the list, but nobody talks about it. So then it's all bottled up, and you're pretending like your top 5 are really satisfied, but you're not. I'd rather you give me 10 and say, I'm basically 70% satisfied with my list, 75, something. These things bother me. I'd rather call it out and say, this bothers me, and go, great, well, you have a decision to make. Are you willing to accept it because this is the package? Or if you're not going to accept it, then this is called a potential deal breaker. Are you willing to walk away over this one thing? One. All we need is one thing, and it kills the whole match. One thing that you will not accept about somebody, then it's a deal breaker. It's not a potential deal breaker. You can't go into a relationship going, well, they're going to change. It's okay. They are going to change, but not in the way that you want. It's not going to be exactly that way.
The people who go in saying, I'm going to make my husband into the vision.
Yeah.
I'm always like, wait till you have your kids, then you have maybe you can do it then, because they're your mini husbands, but not even.
No.
Yeah.
Again, accept doesn't mean I like it, okay? There's ideally what I want, and when I get what I want, I am feeling good. That's why I'm going into this relationship. There's something that's a potential deal breaker. If I don't accept this is going to break the deal for sure. And then there's just a middle category of, if I choose this person, this comes with the package. And I usually tell people whatever it is that bothers them. It could be a physical trait. It could be they're not as proactive as you would like them to be. It doesn't matter what it is. Usually over time, that thing gets a little bit worse, not better. Okay? But your ability to handle it actually goes up. So even though they might go down, your ability to handle it goes up, and it's neutralized. It's not actually a problem, and it's not drastic. It's usually within a range. But if I go in expecting that it's going to improve and then it goes the other direction, I'm not just disappointed, I'm devastated. And a relationship can't hold that. So if we understand the nature of people and relationships, and as we get more comfortable, I'm sitting like this and I'm not sitting like this, right? I'm not on my best game always, then I'm going in realistic. And if I go in realistic, then I could stay married. I don't just have to get married. A lot of people are good. They can get married. It's not a problem. Anybody can get married. I just put two people together. Poof, you want a ceremony? Bring a rabbi. We got a marriage.
I feel like there's a Netflix show like that.
There's something called arranged or married at first sight, right? They have those things. So, right, people can do that. You could get married. Can you stay married? Do you have the skills? Do you have the compatibility to stay married? If you go through this whole system, then you will. But if you don't accept things, then it becomes a really big problem. And I'll just say, I talk to some of my clients, even after they get married, like a year into marriage. New, how are things going? I just want to check on you. And they're like, remember that thing that bothered me? And I was like, yeah. They're like, how did I get over it again? Right? I forgot already. I knew it's there, but I don't know how to move past it. And we talk about it. I remind them, and they're like, oh, yeah, that was good. Okay, good. I got it. Right, they call back a year later.
So what do you think about people, nowadays people live everywhere, and the Jewish community, is definitely larger in some big cities. And then when you live outside of the, I don't know, I'm not going to say tri-state, but the bigger cities, it's much harder to find someone. So what do you think about long distance dating and the ability to really build a relationship on someone who you know more on the beginning on Zoom and having to make the concessions of flying out, and like, what do you say?
I'm a fan of long distance dating. I'm a fan of any dating, really. I think that some relationships happen that way and they just need to be supported. I don't think it's an ideal way to date, but I think in the modern world, we could date anyone at any time from anywhere. It could be any time in the morning. I can get online. I could go find somebody that's awake in some country somewhere that is Jewish that wants to have a conversation. So because we have that technology at our hands and at our fingertips, we need to have the ability to manage it. And I usually tell people that they need to see each other approximately every 3 weeks, no more than 4 or 5. I don't like it to go 6 weeks. It's a little bit too long. We need to keep the in-person relationship and time regimented more, because if we do that, then I know that I actually know you, and not just I like the sound of your voice and it's comforting at night. I know how you behave when we go out to a restaurant. I know how you drive. I know how you interact with other people in the world. I know how you interact with me, not just over the phone, but in person. And we need that to actually solidify a relationship. It happens.
So you think it is harder then?
For sure, it's harder than dating in person. For some people, it's very good. For the introvert, it's very good. For the extrovert, it's extremely difficult. Extroverts need to be in person. They need to feel your presence. An introvert, they're like, oh, this is good. I didn't feel like going out tonight anyway, but I could talk to you, no problem.
Put on my screen.
Yeah, much easier for them.
Okay, because I feel like people have to start thinking a little bit differently about it, that you could build a relationship over Zoom. Obviously, you have to meet each other in person.
You have to
do that. But people who live further apart, 3 to 4 weeks is that's hard.
So obviously, somebody at some point has to move. And also in the very beginning, right? So 2 things. One, at the very beginning, I do not like people talking for 6 weeks or 8 weeks and then meeting. Huge problem. Oh my gosh, I'm in love with you. It's amazing. Oh, and then you meet and you're like, never. I had no idea what I was thinking. This is never going to work. I can't believe I even thought that. So I like in the very beginning, if you get on the phone, you like each other, somebody flies. 10 days, 2 weeks. For sure, no longer 3 weeks starts to push my buttons. I don't like it because I just know in 1 second of meeting in person, it can fall flat. Once you've actually met and we talk and we like each other, now we could build on something. But in terms of moving, it's difficult to say. So if somebody's working and they're not in a program, they're not in school or something where I have 2 more years and I have to finish something. But if they're working, I'd like to get the one that's more flexible to move. If they are in a program, it gets complicated. I've seen people do it successfully, but it's not easy and it's not ideal. But I wouldn't say don't do it, because we can't just drop our options. Yeah. I mean, also on this, this tour that I'm doing now. So I've been at a whole bunch of different Chabad houses, and I'm not going to tell you the locations, but one was over here and the other one's over there. And I thought of people from different Chabads, and I'm like, listen, you guys have to meet. Who's going to fly? And they both,
And they have,
yes,
they agree.
they agree. Yes, it's next week. I'd like you to be my first real match of the tour. You're really
That'd be awesome. Yeah. I know you have this live interactive where you match people out.
Matchmaking. So this was, we do the live matchmaking with the entire audience. This was like, I'm meeting hundreds of people, and I met 2 people. And when I went, from one city to the next, and I was like, oh, do you have anybody do that? And I was like, hold on. Yes.
You have like a Rolodex in your head.
Yes. Yes. And we also have like a proper database.
No, for sure. But I'm saying that when you're meeting someone,
usually it's either a look. There's, the look-alike couples, which I love. There's a certain energy, a certain personality, which is very either similar or complementary. It could be different, but complementary. Or there's a core values base that's a trigger. There's always something that's a trigger for me. It's not just, oh, that idea popped in my head. I don't know why. There's always a reason.
That leads right into my next question. Like, what do you look for when you try to match somebody up? Like, what do you say, like, I think this is a good match? Like,
for sure, values. Who are you? What do you want in your life over the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years? What kind of a family do you want to build? And what kind of a partner do you need to build that type of a family? And those things have to match. If I can get them to match in the next 2, 3, 5, 10 years, fine. So you'll figure out 20 years and beyond. I think we also do need to have a good personality match. I've seen couples that are like, but we love each other. And it's like spiking, high, low, high, low. Big problem. I don't care if you love each other. You're never going to stay married. So don't even bother getting married, because this is going to equal divorce. And I do help couples to break up. Spike, yes. I'm not talking about, oh, we have little disagreements. I thought you were talking about like introvert, extrovert. No, I'm talking about spicy, fiery interactions. Okay. Just bickering. Okay. No, back and forth. I don't know why I want this. It's not going to last. It's not going to work. I love you. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that kind of love. It might be love.
But the fire that will ultimately,
not gonna work.
Okay.
Not gonna work. So those types of couples are problematic. So I'm looking for a personality match that lends itself one to the other. And the one thing that you, I, anybody in the world can never ever know or do is how they're going, when they meet in person, how that's going to happen. Like, is that going to click and be like, wow, amazing? Or are they going to meet each other and go, nice to meet you. Yeah. Nice guy, nice girl, good person, but I don't know if it's a good person for me. That's the question. So sometimes there's a perfect paper match and you're like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Even on the show, we had a match that was like an amazing match. I'm going, oh my gosh, this is like go to chuppah kind of match. And they meet and one side's flat and the other side not. We're done. Doesn't even matter. Everything else. And they're like, yeah, everything else you're right about. You're totally right. One thing wrong in a shidduch, and the whole thing is flat. So we just have to be careful about those things and never, I tell people, don't overexcite the daters. If you're going to set somebody up, just set them up, but don't, oh my gosh, it's your person. Don't build it up too much. Nice person, good person. I think there's enough here to go out. I think it makes sense. You guys will tell me how the energy is between you. You'll tell me how this clicks for you.
So another thing that's like super common that comes up is that
people are scared to commit to one person and to date one person, especially in the beginning. And so people will be like having a conversation with this person and then, but like met someone at a Shabbos table over here and is continuing that conversation as like, you know, having a date Thursday night with another person.
Options open.
Exactly.
Right. Like,
exactly.
I'm not so sure about you. I don't know if you're sure about me. So just in case, I'm going to talk to a few other people and let's see what's going to happen.
Yes.
Yeah, not my favorite.
Not mine either. But like, how do you explain how that, I think, is actually hurting their ability to actually really connect with one of those person?
Right. The detrimental part is that I only have so much space and time in my life. And when I have multiple people filling that need, so I'm actually going to feel a little bit more whole and complete because from you, I get the emotional stability. From you, it's the financial stability. From you, it's the intellectual discussions, and everybody fills in a different need. And now I feel better, but I'm not really better because I really have nothing. Yeah, I have nothing because it's like Mr. Potato Head. We're just putting all the pieces together, and it's not a whole.
There's a story of we're on a Chabad podcast. So I wanted to bring in. There's a story of someone who went to the Lubavitcher Rebbe and was looking for a shidduch, was looking for a potential match. And so the Rebbe asked him or her, "What are you looking for?" And they came with this like
Gesundte list.
Exactly. And the Rebbe was like, "That's a great list, but I feel like you're looking for more than one person,
Right.
because
You're just not like, that's not going to be in one.
you're not going to find it." Exactly like you were just saying. You're going to
fill different needs, but the problem becomes I feel fulfilled and I'm simultaneously feeling empty, but I'm also not feeling motivated to go find my person because I have too many things in my way. And so if we date one person, I like clarity. I'm a huge fan of clarity. Date one person, it's your person, yes, no, move on. Oh, you can't make a decision? Well, don't date multiple people just because you don't have decision-making skills. Get coaching, get support. Bring someone in to support you to figure that out. And my whole thing is figure that out beforehand so that when you date somebody, we're already in a moment of clarity or semi-clarity, right? I'm still going to go out, but I'm leaning towards no, but I'm not going to break it off yet because it's not a hard no. I want to give them fully my attention and a chance, but if it doesn't work, I'll move on. And it's hard to convince people. So they think the fastest way to get there is by dating multiple people, right? Like it's statistics, it's numbers. I'll just do it faster. But I think that that's a slower method, and I can tell them stories. I can share the wisdom that I have. Some people, you just let them burn out, and then they come to you broken and go, "Now what?" And you're like, "Oh, well, we tried it your way. Let's try it my way." You can't always convince somebody of something that they're not interested to hear. So I can just say, "I don't think this is a great idea. Here's why." Oh, and by the way, when you tell a story and you go, "Did I tell that to you already?" Yeah, that's because you told it to the other two dates that you don't even remember. So you know you're dating too many people when you start to say that.
Yeah. That's actually really funny.
True. So many people are like, "Oh, like guilty." Yeah, I said that.
Wow. What are some like challenges that you have found in trying to set people up that, I mean, we kind of discussed it a little bit before, but like,
I don't know, maybe even if you have a story
of something that you really were watching and you're like,
they're making this mistake and I want to like help them. I don't know, is there something?
The most recent thing that came up, and that's, just top of mind, is that somebody told me they're looking for somebody, they want my help, we're ready, fine. I bring them somebody and they're like, "Oh, I can't deal with this now." And I was like, "What?" I'm sorry. If you ask me to find somebody and I go to the effort and I have somebody in front of me that really is an ideal match, what's going on? Too much. Now there's too much with work. There's too much with this and side project, and I'm overwhelmed and I can't do it. I can't do it. And I said, "Okay, so you're not dating." No, I am. Okay, well, okay, so I have somebody for you, but not now. I said, "So you're not right." So being ready for what's coming is really important. And if you're ready, you should be ready. And that means don't pile extra work on your plate. That means don't take on too much family responsibility. That means free yourself up that 2 nights a week, or 3, if you had to, you could go out. I had another client and she had a booked schedule every night. And I said, "When are you going to go out?" And she goes, "I don't know. When the right person comes, I'm going to figure it out." Right. No, you won't. You're not going to figure it out. So make space right now. I have people in their room physically making space. I tell them to clear out their favorite drawer, the most convenient spot, empty. Leave it empty for your person. Closet, right? Clear out part of your closet. Go to the kitchen, the spice cabinet. Yeah. When you physically, right. And then every time you go to open that drawer and you're like, "Oh, fine. Okay, I'll go to the second drawer," right? Like there's a certain something that comes up and you're like, right, because I made space for somebody else, but that's so irritating because like my stuff was there and that's the best drawer, the easiest, best spot for it to be in. Right, but having somebody else in your life isn't always the easiest, most convenient thing to do. So acclimate yourself to getting used to things not always going your way, which is A-okay, and just having that amount of struggle. It's not stress, it's a different drawer, but 25 times you're going to open that drawer and forget that you really left that space for somebody else. Maybe after 30 times, you're going to finally go like, right, that his drawer, my drawer. Okay. And take your stuff out. But same thing, kitchen, spice cabinet, bathroom, wherever your toothbrush is, put it on the other side. Like, just start doing things differently and flipping them around. It's good for the brain. It's very good for adjustment, and it preps and gets you ready for what's coming, which is somebody's going to come into my life and my world and flip it on its head, and I'm going to have to make space. I'm going to mentally have to make space.
I think one thing that people don't always realize that when they're looking for a relationship is that they're not only looking for someone to make them happy, but they're looking for someone that they can grow together and become better people.
They're not
Two of them.
for that. And people are looking exactly for what you said. What can you give to me?
Exactly. And I think that is something on that. Right. And I think that is something that is a huge challenge and they want to just get.
Right.
And there's no relationship.
That's a question that we ask people. What do you bring to a relationship and to a partner? What do you have to offer? And then they're like, you get the blank stare. It's very cute. Very cute. And they're like, no, well, I'm a good person. I said, great, define good. What do you do for other people? Well, I help and okay. Okay, what are you willing to do for a partner? Well, what are they going to do for me? Okay, wrong question.
Yeah. Not ready yet.
Right.
Not ready yet.
What are you putting in? Love is all about giving. The root of the Hebrew word love, ahava, is to give. And so when we know that, then we know the formula for love. So I give, and therefore I develop love. Not because you give to me and I receive, I develop love. It's actually through the act of giving. So who loves whom, the other person more? Question is, who gives more? And then we know the answer. Top 5 dating tips. I would say make sure you have mentorship in your life. Several people that are there to support you. Have that set up now before you start dating. Number 1. Number 2 is you got to get social. If you want to be dating, you should be a networker. Pretend like you're going to get a job and you're talking to everybody, and somebody who knows somebody who knows somebody is going to introduce you to your person. Great. You can't be a hermit in your own little world. You have to get out of your box and start meeting people and be very social to get the network that you need to find somebody. I would tell people to just take a look in the mirror, physically and emotionally and spiritually. Are you looking your best? Are you looking like what you think your partner is looking for? Like what you're looking for, do you think they're going to be looking for you also? And if they're not going to be looking for you, no problem. What do you need to do? Do you need to take a class and learn something? Do you need to emotionally open up and get support there? Do you need to get a whole new wardrobe because you're just not ready to meet a partner? Another tip would be to make space and time in your life and in your schedule. And even if nobody fills in with a date, go take yourself out on a date. Remind yourself of what you like to do. Do some hobbies and interests, because if you are not an interesting human, you're going to be really boring to date. So if all you do is eat, sleep, work, repeat, when we go on a date, what are we going to talk about? Nothing. And it's going to be boring. When I was single, I remember going and taking tap dancing lessons. And I was like, oh, I never took it as a kid. I'm going to go take tap. And I found a local tap studio and I took tap for 6 months. And it was fascinating. And then I'd walk around the supermarket, like, click that. Just like, shopping and clacking my heels as I went. But I don't take it anymore, but I should. It was very entertaining. But it makes you interesting because now you have a hobby and an interest. I don't care if it's painting or boating or hiking or biking. It doesn't matter what it is, but you have to make yourself interesting. And the last thing would be to go and do stuff, events, programs, specifically where you're going to meet either somebody that could be your person or somebody that might know your person that could introduce you. So I don't care if it's an all women or all men's event. Find people in the room that are like-minded and like, oh, do you know anybody? Like lean into the conversation and get their feedback and see. And if they don't, no problem. Give me another connection. Give me another person. Yitzhak and Rivka, they were trying to have children, and she basically said to him, you know, give me children or I will die. Like, that's it. Like, this is I need this. This is what I want. And he's like, who am I? Am I God? Right? But what she's really saying is also pray on behalf of me. Just like you pray, I pray, we pray. Like, we need to do this together. Yeah. And I think that don't just pray that you should meet your person, pray for your person that they should meet their person, which is you.
Well, thank you so much. This was super interesting, super enlightening. I feel that you have given us so much to think about and so much to really incorporate into the dating lives. And so I just want to say a massive thank you for coming out and for meeting with us and for talking with us. And maybe in the future we can do this again. I love it.
And I'll just leave everybody with a bracha for those that are seeking their soulmate, that you should find your person. You should find them with ease, with clarity. And for anybody looking right now, it should happen this year.
Amen.